Sir, yes.
Okay, so water cycle we will start. Disappearing trick of water. How many times have you noticed that water spilled on a floor dries up after some time? The water seems to disappear. Similarly, water disappears from wet clothes as they dry up. Okay, as you seen in figure 14.4. Okay, you can see in your home also that whenever we put the clothes outside in the sunlight, they dries up. Water from wet roads, roof, rooftops, and a few other places also disappear after the rains. Where does this water go? So this is the question now. Okay. Do you remember activity 6 in chapter 5 in which water with salt dissolved in it was heated? Okay, evaporation method to separation of salt and water. What did we find? The water evaporated and the salt was left behind. This activity gives an idea that on heating, water changes into its vapors. Okay, we also realize that from this activity that water vapor does not carry away the salt with it. Water vapors so formed become a part of the air and cannot easily be seen. We also found that heating is essential to convert water into its vapor. Okay, so to convert water into its vapor, we have to provide heat. However, we have seen that water changes into vapors also from the fields, roads, rooftops, and other land areas. We also discussed in chapter 5 that to obtain salt, water from the sea is left in shallow pits to let the water evaporate. From where does this water get the heat it needs to evaporate? Okay, now let us find out. Activity 2. Take two similar plates. Okay, place one of the plate in sunlight and keep the other under shade. Now pour equal amount of water in each of the plate. So you have to take two plates. Okay, suppose these are two plates in which water there. Okay, equal amount of water you have to fill. One you have to put in direct sunlight where sun is there. Okay, and other should be in shade under a tree. Figure also given. Okay, in 14.5. You can see like this. This activity you have to do. Okay, one water in directly in the sunlight and one other inside kept the set. Okay, we can understand that when you can see in your book figure, this figure you can easily understand this, that we have to take two plates, okay, equal amount of water in them, and one plate we have to put in direct sunlight and one in under shade like inside the room or under a tree. Okay, so what you will find that the water get evaporates from this and some water also evaporate from this plate also even if it is in shade. So what we can conclude the, okay, does the heat from the sunlight reach the earth? Yes, during the daytime all the air surrounding us gets heated. This warm air provides heat for evaporation of water in the shade also. Okay, so in shade also we can say that the warm air is there, that's why evaporation process takes place. Thus evaporation takes place from all open surfaces of water. As a result, water vapor gets continuously added to the air. Okay, however, evaporation of water is a slow process. That is why we rarely notice its loss. From a bucket full of water in sunlight, evaporation takes place faster. It is you can say that when you are just wash your clothes, okay, or in your if your parents wash your clothes and it dries up in this direct sunlight, okay, that's why they put in the direct sunlight, that in the direct sunlight evaporation takes much more faster and your clothes are dries up quickly. Okay, on heating water on a burner, its evaporation takes place even faster. Is there any other process through which water vapors get transferred into air? Now we move to the loss of water by plants. You have learned in chapter 7 that plants need water to grow. Plants use a part of this water to prepare their food and retain some of it in their different parts. Remaining part of this water is released by the plants into air as water vapor through the process of transpiration. Do you remember observing transpiration of water by plants in activity 4 in the chapter 7? Are you remember or not? So I can tell you that water vapors enters the air through the processes of evaporation and transpiration. Okay, is it lost forever? No, we get it back as we will see. Okay, so we can understand now how this water, when it goes into the air through the processes of transpiration and evaporation, how it back again. Okay, so now we understand that how clouds are formed. So for this you have to do an activity. Okay, activity 3, take a glass half filled with water. Wipe the glass from the outside with a clean piece of cloth. Okay, first you have to take a glass filled with water. Wipe the glass from the outside with a clean piece of cloth. Add some ice into the water. Wait for 1 or 2 minutes. Observe the changes that take place on the outer surface of the glass. It is very easy experiment. You can do it very easily. Okay, you have to just take uh, one glass tumbler. Okay, so you have to put some water here and some ice drop. Okay, here. So you can do this activity very easily. It is so easy. So you have to find the changes of its outer surface. From where do water drops appear? On the outer side of the glass, the cold surface of the glass containing iced water cools the air around it, and the water vapor of the air condenses on the surface of the glass. We notice this process of condensation in activity 7 in chapter 5. Okay, condensation process, you remember, students? So this the process of condensation plays an important role in bringing water back to the surface of water earth. How does it happen? As we go higher from the surface of the earth, it gets cooler. When the air moves up, it gets cooler and cooler. Okay, when we goes up, okay, inside, if you say in the atmosphere, it gets cooler and cooler. At sufficient height, the air becomes as cool, the water vapor present in it condenses to form tiny drops of water called droplets. Okay, in these tiny droplets that remain floating in air and appears to us as clouds. So you can see these are nothing that these are the tiny, you can say that, air, okay, which have moist in them, okay, vapors. So it so happens that many droplets of water come together. Here the small you can say water droplets in a cloud, and they make a larger size cloud. Some drops of water become so heavy that they begin to fall. These falling water drops are what we call rain. Okay, if many, you can say that the water droplets are there. Okay, in a cloud, many water droplets are there. When it becomes too heavy, it starts the falling of water drops. So, these falling of water drops are called rain. In special conditions, it may also fall as hail or snow. Okay, it is the next form of water drops. Okay, in which they can fall in the form of hail or in the form of snow. Thus, water in the form of vapor goes back into air by evaporation and transpiration, forms clouds, and then comes back to the ground as rain, hail, or snow. So now we will get the answer that what happened to the water when it evaporates and transpiration by the process. Okay, how it come back to the earth hole again. It forms clouds and then comes back to the ground as rain, hail, or snow. That this water back to the ocean. What happens to the water that rain and snow bring to different regions of Earth? Almost all land surfaces are above the level of oceans. Okay, most of the water that falls on the land as rain and snow sooner or later goes back to the oceans. This happens in many ways. Okay, so you can understand that whatever amount of rain is coming, okay, or snow sooner, okay, it means very quickly, or later, it means after some time, goes back to the oceans. So how this process take place? Snow in the mountains melts into water. Okay, first process, this water flows down the mountains in the form of streams and rivers, as you see in figure 14.8 also. If you see this figure, okay, this snow is melting from the mountain. Okay, rainwater flows down in the form of stream and rivers. You can see the figure also. Okay, in which rainwater is coming in the form of streams and river. So some of the water that falls on land as rain also flows in the form of rivers and streams. Most of the rivers cover long distances on land and ultimately fall into a sea or an ocean. However, water of some rivers flows into lakes also. The rainwater also fills up the lakes and ponds. A part of rainwater gets absorbed by the ground and seems to disappear in the soil. Some of this water is brought back to the air by the process of evaporation and transpiration. The rest seeps into the ground. Most of this water becomes available to us as groundwater. Okay, so the water which seeps into the ground is called groundwater. Open wells are fed up by groundwater. Groundwater is the source for many lakes as well. If you see, okay, groundwater is also source for the lakes. It is also this groundwater which is drawn by a hand pump or a tube well. The more hand pump or tube well that are used in an area, the deeper we need to dig to find this groundwater. The loss in the level of groundwater due to overuse is worrisome. Okay, as you already know that nowadays scarcity of water is coming. Okay, due to this excessive use of hand pumps, okay, or tube wells, which is just decrease the level of this groundwater. So now Pahli wants to share a concern with you. In those areas where the land has little or no vegetation, the rainwater flows away quickly. Okay, flowing rainwater also take the top layer of the soil away with it. There are few areas where most of the land is covered with concrete. This reduces the seepage of rainwater into the ground, which ultimately affects the availability of groundwater. So you can see that nowadays you can see that many houses are formed and many industrial area buildings are formed, so due to which, okay, seepage of rainwater into the ground affects and availability of groundwater also reduces. We now know that water, okay, brought back to the surface of earth by rain, hail or snow goes back to oceans. Thus water from the ocean and surface of the earth into air as vapor, returns as rain, okay, hail or snow, and finally goes back to the ocean. The circulation of water in this manner is known as the water cycle, as you can see in in figure 14.9. Okay, if you see, this is the figure 14.9. This is water cycle in which by different means. Okay, by the process of evaporation here take place. Okay, water goes above. Okay, or transpiration process take place from plants, and it comes back in the form of snow or rain or hail. So this is the water cycle. The time duration, okay, and the amount of rainfall varies from place to place. In some parts of the world, it rains throughout the year, while there are places where it rains only for a few days. These type of places also there. In our country, most of the rainfall occurs during the monsoon season, as you hear the term also monsoon. Okay, rain spring relief, especially after hot summer days. The showing of many crops depends on the arrival of monsoon. However, excess of rainfall may lead to many problems. If you see in figure 14.10, okay, a scene after heavy rain. Okay, this type of problems you can see in mainly city area. Heavy rainfall, yes, heavy rains may lead to rise in level of water in rivers, lakes and ponds. The water may then spread over large areas causing floods. The crop fields, forests, villages and cities may get submerged by water, as you seen in figure 14.11. Okay, a scene of flooded area. You can see, okay, the all water is filled inside it. Okay, here, and people are just saying for help. Okay, by just standing in their roofs. Okay, their cows. Okay, their you can say that humans are just uh, flowing. Okay, and you can see some are going into the trees also. So this type of situation is happened when flood is occur in any area. In our country, flood cause extensive damage to crops, domestic animals, property and human life. You also aware about it. Okay. If you see in any news channel nowadays, you can easily see many flood news is there before a month ago. Okay, where many flood is caused by heavy rains. So during floods, the animal living in the water also get carried away with the waters. They often get trapped on land areas and die when food water recedes. Rains also affect the animals living in the soil. Can you imagine what would happen if it does not rain in a region for a year or more? The soil continues to lose water by evaporation and transpiration. Since it is not being brought back by rain, the soil becomes dry. The level of water in ponds and wells of the region goes down, and some of them may even dry up. The groundwater may also become scarce. This may lead to drought. In drought conditions, it is difficult to get food and fodder. You might have heard about, so you can heard about droughts occurring in some parts of our country or the world. सूखा बढ़ गया है कहते हैं ना. Are you aware of the difficulties faced by the people living in these areas? What happens to the animals and vegetation in these conditions? Try and find about this talking to your parents and neighborhoods and by reading about it from newspaper and magazines. Okay, so you can discuss with your parents also that what will happen if there is drought condition here. Okay, what are fact, only a small fraction of water available on the earth is fit to use. Okay, which is for use of plants, animal, and humans. Most of water is in the ocean and it cannot be used directly. When the level of the groundwater we are reading about how can we conserve water.